also bearing in mind the home-based care approach that the Ministry of Health is taking as of the next 2 weeks. Let's bring in Dr. Thumbi Mwangi, who's joining us via way of Zoom. He's an infectious disease expert. We just want to pick his mind on the latest that has happened. Thank you so much for your time and your contribution right here on News Center. I think it would be proper to start with the General's Law emergency preparedness in counties that was highlighted as the president gave his speech. He highlighted Busia and Siaya counties, 10 beds in Busia, Siaya counties, roughly 34 beds. This is a worrying trend. And we're just using this as an example because I'm sure some other counties that may have not been affected yet by COVID-19 are more ill prepared. What do you make out of all this?
Thank you very much for the invitation to be part of this. I think since the disease began, we know that the disease does cause hospitalization, particularly for people that have comorbidities and those that are of an advanced age. And we can make an estimate of how many beds will be required for each county. So I think the problem at the moment is that the estimates that have been made and the preparedness at the counties, there seems to be really a big difference. So I think the example the president was giving on Saturday was, the preparation of, say, of Siaya County, where they have 10 beds and one funeral resulted in 9 of those beds being occupied. So I think that's really a big issue at the moment, because as the disease begins to move out of Nairobi and out of Mombasa into other counties in the country, there must be really good preparation so as people do receive medical care to prevent them from ending up in...
Even as we speak of good preparation, I mean, it's reprieve to the 47 governors, even as the government has allocated 5 billion conditional grant to the 47 counties to increase health capacity. But with a history of counties using a greater chunk of their budgets on recurrent expenditure at the expense of development, I mean, we can definitely raise questions on whether this will actually roll out as it should going forward, don't you think?
Yes, but I think because they are already really good estimates of the number of beds that, for instance, Mugamo would require, or Lamu would require, or Nyeri would require, that this money would need to be tied to making sure that capacity is reached, so as the money is not, allocated into other important, but other activities, and make sure that we can prepare our country for what it is now, which is our biggest health threat at the moment, which is COVID-19.
Well, what should be first on the mind of counties, even as they struggle to meet the 300-bed capacity for the counties that haven't yet? Since we're facing a pandemic that is endemic, going forward, we still haven't hit the peak yet, according to experts. How exactly should counties approach this? Because it's not just a matter of beds, and that's it. What more should be put into consideration?
So when the disease is moving into the counties, ideally you want to have a really good surveillance system. So they need to upgrade or at least improve the way they're doing their surveillance to be able to get the cases that are happening in their counties before they can deliver them to the health facilities. I think it's important to note that, a lot of people are asymptomatic, and a few of them will get, the need for hospitalization and special care. So I think a county should not just prepare the 300 beds, they also need to prepare their community health approaches so as they're able to identify where the cases are happening within the county. I think that's not something that can be done from Nairobi or from Mombasa. It has to be really done from each of the counties.
All right, that's really proper. Let's take a look at the proposal, the recent proposal by the Ministry of Health, due to the constraints that may be faced as the numbers continue surging in our health institutions. Home-based care, definitely a couple of stipulations that have been listed down by the World Health Organization, and the Ministry of Health has also released a couple of guidelines on that. With the training set to kickstart, even though it's online, do you think this is the best move, bearing in mind the rate of community transmission, number one, but still, I think hospitals might be safer. What do you say about this?
Yeah, I think you have to sort of understand. So, for instance, what you've got say in Kenyatta National Hospital in Bagadi, is isolation centers that are already full. And they are full because we have got people there that are asymptomatic or mildly symptomatic, and then we have got people that really do require, much more healthcare requirements at the health facility. So the problem is that if every person that was positive for SARS-CoV-2 or COVID-19 ended up in hospital, would end up with completely overwhelming the health system. So there must be a way of making sure that we also use our resources well, that we have only people that require special attention in hospital, and the others that are either symptomatic or mildly symptomatic can be managed elsewhere, which is less expensive and will make it even much easier to manage our resources and to make sure that people get the best care possible. And the problem is how this will be carried out. I think the guidelines are quite clear on what needs to be done. First of all, you need to know that you've got a positive case of COVID-19 that has been confirmed. And the second thing is that you are mildly or asymptomatic. That means that you don't need to be in a health facility. And that also you don't have what we already know exacerbating the disease, like comorbidities, hypertension, diabetes, old age, above 60. So if you don't have those three, you don't have any of those comorbidities, then I think it's safe to either have you as home-based care or have this what they're referring to as community facilities that might be able to take care of people that don't have those kind of rooms, say within homes, that can take care of these patients.
All right, even as we discuss about that, there's something that's emerging, and I'd like to pick your mind on this. Whether symptomatic or asymptomatic, most of the cases, especially in Nairobi region, most of them are being recorded in informal settlement areas. Now, we've all seen the guidelines on, home-based care approach. Now, this will definitely prove to be a challenge in implementing, because if we take a look at most informal settlements, most of them do not qualify in terms of the few necessities, the space, the allocation of someone who can actually take care of them, one individual. How do we go about this, bearing in mind we live in an era where not everyone is, given the accessible space and all that? How do we go about this?
So I think there is already really good thought around how to deal with situations where you don't have like an extra room or someone who can take care of you. And I think the suggestion I've heard is that there will be community level facilities that people can be taken into and can be taken care of. So if say you are in Kibera or informal settlements and obviously do not have enough room to be able to self-isolate, then there should be a facility identified together with the government and the community where people can be taken, for the 14 days as they are observed. So I don't think that the proposal is to have, only home-based care, but I think it also includes community-based care, which will identify the facility that is agreeable between the community and the government, and that can allow people to sort of be isolated.
All right, as we conclude, it's an intricate balance between, sustaining the economy and definitely taking care of the livelihoods and the lives especially of Kenyans. Do you think it might be too early to start thinking about pulling back on some of the restrictions, especially on the movement in and out of counties? What do you think about this? More than 30 days are needed, especially since we're in community transmission. How do you think we should approach this going forward? Is the 30 days just a minimum in terms of the place we're at?
I could take a minute and explain the kind of thinking that is behind this. So one, we can estimate the number of cases that will be in the different counties. And I think your first question is around county preparedness. I think at the moment, as we speak, we know that counties are not ready yet, to take this number of cases if there was an opening of the economy and an opening of the travel restrictions that have been put into place. I know it's a delicate balance. I think the 30 days that have been proposed are really important for counties to make sure that they can prepare, because if counties have their the number of beds, they have the right teams to do surveillance, then I think they will be able to handle the kind of epidemic or the pandemic that we are experiencing right now. And the problem with lifting, say, restrictions from Nairobi, lifting restrictions from Mombasa, is that then that will be the source of infections that go into areas that have not reported any diseases and in any of the COVID-19 cases yet. So I think it's the 30 days are really critical, not to really change how the disease would look like, but really to make sure that the counties are well prepared to handle what is coming once you open up. Otherwise, if you open up right now, I think we'll be just preparing ourselves to have a devastating effect of the pandemic.
All right, many thanks. Dr. Thumbi Mwangi right there giving us his take as we continue dealing with the pandemic. Of course.